Right, Land Rover Defender 90, our nice new shiny 90. Well, it's getting less new and shiny all the time. We keep drilling it. Right, today we are going to talk about locking fuel flaps. Now, when they introduced the new Defender, one revolutionary thing it had, in fact, the old Defender had it too, didn't it? It's got a locking fuel flap. So when you went up to the car and it was locked, you could press this and it wouldn't unlock. And so stop people siphoning your fuel or putting additives or you're doing whatever in your fuel tank. It was locked, it was protected. So that was brilliant. But due to chip shortages, so say, Land Rover deleted this feature on the later cars. So our new 90 is locked, its mirrors are folded in, it's that, but you can get in. And now apparently they have got some anti-siphon technology in there that stops you siphoning it out. So I'm not sure about that, but anyway. But it's really, really strange. So in this video, we're going to look at how the locking fuel flap works. We're going to look at what you actually get in this car. What bit did they leave out? And we're going to look at our retrofit kit. So come over here. Let's sit down. Right. So we have produced a retrofit kit which will allow you to reinstate the original sort of operation of the locking fuel flap on your Land Rover Defender. Now, apparently they've left this off on some other Land Rover models, Range Rover models as well. So it will probably work the same. So let's have a look. So this is what you've got inside your locking fuel flap. And what you've got is this. It's got a little sort of pin here. And this pin engages in this little catch here. And it opens and closes. And on the rear side of here, you've got this solenoid. Now, it's worth just taking a look at this because when we're videoing it later under the car, you won't be able to see what Destiny's doing because it's all up inside the wheel arch. But this is what you have got under the car. And on the car, oddly, they have got a connector. So you would have thought this locking solenoid would not be fitted on our new 90 because it doesn't have a locking, it doesn't have a locking petrol cap, but they've still fitted the solenoid. Why? I don't know. But the solenoid is there and it will be there on your car. And what's more, not only have they fitted the solenoid, they have got a wire going to it. So you will have a connector very much like this. That is, and you have to disconnect and connect this under the car. So pay attention. It clips on, and to unlock it, you have to press this little sort of extract it a bit, push this, and then extract that off. Now, how does it work? So let's have a look. So at the moment, this is unlocked, okay? Right, now if I get a battery and emulate what's going on here, if we give this a little pulse of power, here we go, you heard it go, doop, right? And now that is locked. Now, notice I've disconnected the power, and what it's doing, it's a little electromagnet, and when you pass it's got a coil of wire, and when it passes current through one way, a little slug will fire, and that will lock and stay locked and will stay locked forever. Now, if you reverse the polarity, so you swap that over and give it a pulse of current the other way, you hear it go, and that is now unlocked. So that is what you've got. Now, so we needed to design a circuit that would give you power one way, but switch it for lock and unlock. It's not a simple switch where you just put 12 volts to it to lock it and 0 volts to unlock it. You have to put positive 12 and negative 12. Right, so that's the little lesson in what we've got. So we have designed a circuit. Now, what it works, the way we've come up with doing this is, what it does, we've connected this circuit to 12 volt battery live, so it's permanently got 12 volts to it. And what it does is when you start your car, your battery voltage raises from 12 to 14. And we've got a little IC in here, a little programmable IC. And it goes, right, you've started the car. And what it does then is it unlocks the fuel flap because no one's going to be stealing your fuel while you're driving it. What it does is you drive, the voltage stays roughly 14. When you stop the car, the voltage drops back to 12 volts. And it goes, okay, I can see you stop driving. And then it gives you 10 minutes to refuel your car. So it goes, right, I'm starting the counter from when you turn the car off. There's 10-minute window where the fuel flap will remain unlocked. And so that's basically the logic we've got. And so it gives you a flash one after that. It will give you a flat and it will lock the fuel flap. So 10 minutes after parking your car, your fuel flap will lock. So you've got to get out your car at the petrol station, and if it does lock, you've just got to start your car again, and you've got another 10 minutes. Right, so that is what we have done. Right, so what do we get in the kit? You get a clever circuit board. We have provided you with, because the car, as I explained, has got the loom. So we've provided you, you're going to disconnect the loom under the car, and then to stop water getting in all these contacts here, we've got a little blanking plug that you're going to slip on, and that will just stop, and that's just a blanking plug, and stop your car loom getting water in it. Okay, so that's the first part of the kit. Right, then you've got a power loom that gives you power to this board, and then you've got the solenoid loom that we're going to route through the car, and that is going to plug onto the fuel flap. This is going to go up behind the rear lights, and bam, that's going to go in the car and join on to the circuit board there. And Zach's even 3D printed a lush little case that is all going to sit in, and a little lid that slides over it. Bush. Right, Destiny, should we make a start? Right, what should we do? Shall we fit? What do we need first? We need this fuel flap lead, and we need this. So, right then. Let's have a go. Right then, Destiny, you can do some work today. Right. So here we go. So the fuel flap, obviously you've had a look at the flap. We now know it lives behind the fuel flap here. Okay, so we're unlocked at the moment. So what we need to do is remove the wheel arch liner. So we've actually put the air suspension up here to give us a bit more height. Now you've got this sort of carpety, fluffy stuff that's holding the wheel arch liner in, and you've got these little two-part fixings, and you get a little screwdriver in to remove the inner, what should I call it, the inner peg. When Destiny's got it out, so once you get it out a little bit with the screwdriver, you can get one of these sort of trim tools in, and then just remove the middle bit to a degree. Right, if you just give me that. So these are these sort of two-part fixing. They're a sort of push rivet. And you've got a little slot on the side. I don't know if the camera's going to focus. And you get the screwdriver in there, just expose that middle peg, and then get that out. How many of those have we got there? So we've got 2 in the corner and 1 underneath there. Right, we've done that a couple of times today. She's getting good at that. Right, so then you can just mount handle just fold it away. You only need enough to get your arm in there. Right, and what's in there? There's not a lot really in there, is it? It's just, you can see the inside of the car, but what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get up to the back of that. Right, hold on to the torch. Let's find it. Right, so we've got the torch, but you probably won't be able to see. I don't know. We'll just shove the camera in there. Up in there, I don't know what you can see, but there is in there the locking fuel flap. But we've seen it on the... So Destiny's going to reach up behind it, but you've obviously got to press that little release tab on the connector. Now, if you're not sure, you can practice because you've got the same connector on the kit that we supply you. So you can have a sort of little practice. There you go, well done. Right, and so that disconnects. So this is the connector that is on the car. So it's got a little braided bit around it, and it's all there. Right, Destiny's looking for the bit that I've prepared ready. Right, so we're now going to blank that off. So fit that over there, and that'll stop wires getting in. It should click, hopefully. Is it fierce? Has it got it? Can you pull it off?
No, just lock that in.
Plunge that little pin in. He's locked. Now we could tuck it up, cable tight. You don't want it rattling around. But that's that first bit done. Now what we could do is we could grab the loom. Now we can plug the loom in now, can't we, Destiny? So we can plug that side of the loom in.
I wonder if we cable tie this up first to keep it out of the way.
Yeah, we'll cable tie that up later. Right. So we'll get that one connected. So you've got to do a lot of this by feel. You ain't going to be able to see a lot of this. You've got to feel that connector on that solenoid and then plug that in. Right, we in?
Yeah.
Well done. Right, so what we've now got to do is, let me get around this side. We've now got a route. Now, there's a route that comes through here up to behind your rear light. Now, do you reckon, should we just tape those two together, Destiny? Otherwise, we're going to struggle. Right, we've just taped the wire together. And in fact, if you shine your light in there, you can see there's a pretty good route through here. if you pass it through, I'll grab it, Destiny, and then Destiny reckons we might be able to film the route from inside. So put the cable through. Okay, and let me see if I can see it coming out here. Let me get my screwdriver. Where is he? He's nearly there. There he is. I'm trying to film and grab it. I got this. That's it. Right, if you film inside, you should be able, now you've got the cable, you should be able to see it just heads up there. It's not too bad, is it? There you go. So you can see that. Right. So what we can do now is we can pull that through here. So right. Now obviously at some point we'll get onto that sheathed area where we've got it. So we've got to make sure that can squeeze through here. He's catching on something. Right, so that pulls through. Now, what we've got to do, we don't need to take the rear light out. We've got to feed it up behind the rear light here. So we can thread this through in behind the rear light, and we can just got to route it up. Now, we came up the side. There you go, pull that. Okay. Now, I've got the grommet on there, which is making it a bit tricky, but we could take the grommet off if we need. Alright. Okay, so that goes there. Right, now, you could route this through anywhere. We're heading for the rear fuse box. But we want to really get it above wading height. And we're going to... So we've already removed this rear panel here. Where's our rear panel gone? Here. No, the bottom one. The upper bottom one. Here. Gosh, look at us. Right, this panel, we've already done the video of how to remove that. And that literally just pops off. And it's got the plastic clip. We should add a couple of plastic clips in the kit, shouldn't we? Because you always lose a couple of those clips. I'll have a word with Ben. We'll get that in the kit. So you pop that off. And as you're there, this top bit pops off. Now, I will make a bit of a apology here. If you fitted our spoiler, where we've lipped down over this, it does make it a little trickier to get that rear panel off. Right. Now, what you've got now is you've got this bolt hole here. And we found it better. If you put a bit of twist in the wire, we can go up behind that bolt hole. Oh, that bolt hole even. And thread it back out again. And then it's all tucked right behind there. Right, and will that grommet fit through as well? Right, and the plan is going to be, so again, you can see the top fix in there.
So close.
Oh, I was going to go all the way up here. There you go, I'm halfway there now. Come on. It's on my finger. Go on. We got it. Right, so that is now all the way behind here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right, you've now got two choices. So we're above the wading depth. Now you need to get into here. Now, you could try and get through another hole here. You could drill another hole, but we're going to use this hole here. So these two holes here are used by this panel here. And what there are is there's two spear bits that come out here, and they're not actually the fixings, they're the locating lugs. Now what we've done is cut it off, and I'll go through that in a bit more detail. But basically, they're not used for fixing, they're only used for location. So we've decided to use this hole, but we will have to modify and remove the pin out of that one. Now, let's have a look where we're heading. So we are heading for the rear fuse box. So if you open your rear door and you remove this rear panel, or let's get the light. Right, so if you open the rear door and you remove your rear fuse box cover, there's a little hole that's handy at the bottom. Pull the silver cover off. Now you may or may not have an inner cover. It's another cost down Land Rover did, we noticed, didn't we, Destiny? Someone wrote to us, and in fact our car didn't have it, did it? This car didn't have it. There's an inner fuse box cover that Land Rover have deleted as well. We've got those for sale on the website if you want to have that on there. Right, so we are heading for here. Now there is actually a route down in behind here that leads up to that top corner. And what we're going to try and do now is we're going to try and thread the cable down from the outside and see if we can see it in here. Right, so let's have a go at this. This is the trickiest bit of this fix. So, now again, you could drill a new hole, but we're going to use this hole. So make sure you've got your grommet on. You don't want to do all that threading and then realise you've got to take it all out again. Now, the root goes down, but it's not right in this corner. There is a root that goes down. Let's get the, see, you'll feel it. There is, because there is like a bulkhead. And if you hit a dead stop, you can't go right in this corner. Look, I found it there. Right, and if you just try and get as much of that in there as you can. Right, I'm going to feed it in now. You may be able to start to see it.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep feeding.
I'll keep feeding. Sooner or later, it'll kink round.
Oh, hang on.
Right, I think Destiny's grabbed it. You got it, Destiny?
Yeah.
Right, so you can give that a bit more, pull a bit more, pull a bit more. Right, okay, that's it now. Right, if you want to come outside and film, sorry, Destiny's doing all the work today. Right, so one thing to note, from the outside, let's move that door shut. You really want to be threading it straight down, so you see it in that. Don't head for this corner. There is just one gap, and it's straight down there. So right, so we can put that in now, and then we should better squidge that grommet in there. All right, I want you to use that little screwdriver. All right. Now again, you could now if you want to drill a separate hole, which wouldn't be a bad idea. It's 10mm hole you need to drill. But again, I'd recommend drilling it. That one is needed for a clip, but I'd recommend drilling it somewhere in this area here. Right, I will prod that grommet in so he's fully in. Right, Destiny's done a lovely job and she's squidged the little grommet in here. This is a little touch. Scouring pad with the scouring removed, just to keep that from vibrating. That's a Simon touch, that is. Right, let's go. Right, how are we looking, Destiny? What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? So we have got 2 wires coming in here now. Now what we've got to do is we've got to get the power loom and we've got to pick the power up. But what we're going to do is we're going to thread these 2 wires through under here. There's plenty of room to route that through. Okay, so that's all out the way now. So now we've got the pulse signals. I can take that last bit of tape off there. I mean, you could shorten these wires if you want, because we're going to put the board here. Right, let me grab the other loom and cut these bits of tape off. Right, so we've got the 2 wires through. So now we're ready to connect the board. So let's have a look what else we've got. We've got the circuit board, we've got the box. We'll talk about this, which is an extra feature. We've got the release loom, and that'll be an optional extra. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what we've got to now put on is the power loom. So this picks up the earth from an earthing point on the chassis, and it picks up its power from the fuse box. Right, so we've got to get this. Now, is it going to be easier? So let's thread that up, down even. Right, let's go down that, because that one's got to go onto the earth point, which is down here. And then the positive's got to go up there. So we need this positive one up there. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be easier just to poke those 2 down there. That's it. Right, now we'll leave connecting the positive till last for safety. So we need a little 13mm socket to undo that one there. I try and keep out the way. And you can see this is used as an earth point anyway. Right, I'll get my hand out the way in a minute and you'll be able to see. Okay, so that's the nut we've taken out there. And then we've got the earth wire here, which needs to go. Let me hold on to that. That goes over there. That's all designed to go on. Now, Destiny made a good point earlier. She said, is this going to be the same? We're fitting it on a 90, but I think the rear half, I think this here is all the same on the 110. This rear area, the back sort of foot of the car is the same. You reckon my display, Destiny? Right then, here we go. So, right, so let's tighten that up. So, right. Now, let's get the circuit board. So we'll leave connecting the power to the very last thing. So now we've got, right, let's make sure. Hold on. Right. So now we've got to connect this into the board. So we have got, well, I can stand up a bit now. So we have now got the positive and negative, and we have got the two signal wires. Okay, so let's get this right. So we can connect the positive and negative to the labels. So on the board we have got plus and minus labelled here, battery plus and minus, and then we have got the fuel flap A and B, and we'll show you which orange and yellow is, and then this is the optional release, and we'll show you how that works. Right, so let's get the positive and minus in first. So let's just put those in these terminals here. You might have to give them a bit of a twist. Make sure you've got no stray wires. You could solder them if you were keen. Okay, let's put that in there. Tighten the earth. Right, now we're ready to connect the flap, the fuel flap, and so the orange goes into B. We'll put the picture online. Always, that's it. Okay. And then the yellow goes into A. I'll tighten those up. Right, so that's all done now. Now I'm going to put this in the case now. So we've 3D printed a little case. Now you can see you've got the single entrance here and the double, the wider. So the wider section goes with those two. Now it goes in sort of upside down, and then this board goes in from this side, okay, like so, and you can see it's cut out, and that, so that makes sure you're not going to short anything out, and you can tuck that board away under here. Right, now we're ready to plug the positive in. So this piggyback connector comes with a fuse, and this fuse is a 2 amp fuse, and that's fusing our circuit board. So if there's any problems there, it'll blow this fuse. But we're going to piggyback onto this fuse here. Now this is permanently live. This is a feed from the battery. So did you see there I got the little tool out there? Did you catch that, Destiny? So you've got your little fuse puller tool there. You can grip him and you can extract that green fuse out. You can get this. You can put it round like so. Or in fact, before I do that, it's going to be easier to pop this fuse in now, isn't it, Destiny? So you've got your second little fuse slot there. Alright, you can squidge that in. Okay, and then if we just bend that wire a little bit there, and he goes it back into 58, which is there. Okay, fuse 50, it's written really tiny on the side there. Okay, now that's good. Now, if you've got, on the early cars, they fitted the fuse box cover. Let me just grab mine now. Right, so this is the fuse box cover. Now, I don't know why they stopped fitting it. I think it was a cost down on later models, so have a look if you've got this. But it did have like a dust proof, and it's got a seal on it. Now, if you've got the later cars without this on, then you're fine to go. Now, if you've got this, or you want to buy this, we sell these on the website, or if you want to add this, you are going to have to put a small slither there. But clearly Land Rover decided that you don't even need them, so you could take the other bit off. Oh yes, so that there, that was interesting. I forgot that. Those bits here were a moulding, and these mouldings are quite clever. They make sure your fuses are all pushed in, so it's kind of like a foolproof thing. But what we noticed was that gets in the way of the piggyback fuse adapter, so we had to nobble those as well. So, but again, I don't think the newer cars have got these anyway, and it might be actually it might be interesting because it might be the older cars had the fuel flap locking. The newer cars didn't. The same cost down, they might have, so it might work out sweet if you see what I'm saying, right? And then you can fit that bit on there, right? So let's go through the operation and how this works, and then we'll talk about the loom. So, right, so that fuel flap is at the moment unlocked. Okay, so, ooh, okay, so that is ooh, it's locked. Okay, so it's defaulted to locked, which is fine, right? So when we turn the car on, we'll have to wait a little bit because it revs and stuff and the voltage doesn't stabilize, but we might hear it unlock. So if we're quiet, let's have a go. Normally it's when the engine settles down because it's just been started. When your car's warm, it will instantly open. There you go, it's settling down. The voltage is stabilized. It should now detect 14 volts and it's just opened. I just heard it click. So it won't do it instantly, especially if your car's been cold where you've been working on it. So that is now unlocked. Now, okay, so this is now when you turn the car off, the battery voltage, it's now sensed the circuit because it's connected to the battery voltage. It's now sensing that it's gone from 14 volts to 12. Now there's a time delay, it's about 10 minutes. So checking this works, you'll have to now go and have a cup of tea and come back. So your car fuel flap will be unlocked. Now the reason we've done that is obviously if I've just pulled up at a petrol station now, I can now put my credit card details in the pump, grab the pump, I can open the fuel flap, I can fill it, which may take a couple of minutes. Then I still want to be able to close the flap. So that's why we've set it at 10 minutes. But obviously when you're parked up, the first 10 minutes of your parking, you won't be protected. Now, if you run out of fuel, your engine won't start and your fuel flap won't open because your engine won't start. So you'll be in this sort of tricky predicament. But also, what you can do is we've put on this extra two, we put on the extra 2 wires here. Okay, so if you're worried about that scenario, you've got this button here that's labeled up as override. And if you short those 2 out, right, so you can use a switch or a paper clip and you can bridge across these 2 here. Obviously you could hardwire this switch in, was our idea, or you could wire any switch in, and then when you press that, it will release, it will send a pulse to the fuel flap to open it. Now, it's a fairly unlikely scenario to have run out of fuel, really. It doesn't happen that often. But if you want to, we can make a kit with this, let us know, or you can just put a paper clip or something. So there we go, that is the override option. We've incorporated that into the kit for you if you need to do it. So we'll put all this back together. That should give you the lock-in petrol cap that Land Rover deleted. I think it's quite a clever solution. We've only tested it on our 290s, but we think it's pretty technologically simple, really. So I can see no reason why it wouldn't work on all the Defenders. But please buy it. Let us know what you think. Any problems, comments, let us know. And good luck with that. Right, so one thing, if you're going to use the hole here, where you don't want to drill your car, if you're going to use that hole, that's where this alignment peg needs to go. Now, the wire comes round here, as you can see. So even if we take this peg off, there's still not room for the wire to go. So I'm just going to put a hole saw around this whole area. Now, these bits are relatively inexpensive from Land Rover, and they come pre-painted gloss black. So if you're really worried about returning it to original thing, then drilling this is not such a biggie. Right, so I'm just going to try and put this hole saw through this area here. So I've got to get the hole saw sort of just to the side of there. Okay, so that's taken out that peg base completely. So that should now fit back over. I'll go and fit that on now. And then there's room for that wire to come in and round. So I think that's quite an easy mod, that one.